Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you are all doing very well because today we are back with another 4-3-3-5 formation review, a proper full in-depth guide of this formation, and this is a tremendous formation. So we're going to be covering why this formation is an incredible formation this year in FIFA 20. So with that being said, wasting no time, let's get straight into the tactics. Now these were the tactics that I think I found that made this formation top quality. Now interestingly, you can see that we used balanced on defense and balanced on the offensive style. Now for me, that is because of the way our instructions are set up. We've got a very technical set of instructions, and by playing on something like press on possession loss, which I did test out extensively, and I did find it had some great success, but overall, because of the instructions that we do have set, and they are very technical and specific, sometimes playing on something like press on possession loss or playing on fast build up, it really does drag your team out of possession, and it forces them to do things that your instructions haven't set. So for me personally, I found that going on balance was the best way, because then it let my instructions really take control of how I wanted this formation to play. Sixth width for me was the most effective I found. Again, I like to have a little bit of a wide team. Obviously, the fact that it is a wing formation anyway, we do want to kind of keep that width even when we are defending, because I don't want to give up too much on the fullback areas. Depth-wise, I actually found that 6 was super effective. I didn't want to go with anything too deep, because sometimes in FIFA, obviously, people can drop back themselves, so you want to play a little bit higher up the field, a little bit more aggressive, and I found that 6 depth really worked well for me. This works especially well if you've got obviously some very quick fullbacks. So if you have, Militao, for example, who's got like a shadow on him. If you've got really fast fullbacks, really fast centre backs, you can get away with playing on a slightly higher depth, because you'll be able to get back in position and clear up any attacks in behind. And players in the box, for me, I'd say, as I always say to you guys, I keep standard on around about 5, because again, our instructions are kind of tailor-made for this formation. So again, playing anything a little bit lower, a little bit higher, kind of really goes against what our instructions say. And then corners and free kicks, of course, are always kind of personal choice for you, whether you have certain free kick routines, corner routines. But for me, I typically tend to go short for corners and free kicks, so I typically will play on 1 or 2. So now going into those all important instructions, and I'm going to start off with the most important position, and it is that all important centre forward position. Now we've got Kylian Mbappe at that centre forward position, and it doesn't necessarily matter who you have in this position, because I think that you can get away with having a slow striker or a fast striker in this position, because this guy, as you can see, we've got false 9 on his attacking runs, and that's not necessarily going to be anything to do with him running in behind. It's going to be to do with him dropping into that midfield spot, creating space for his teammates, obviously not going up against the centre backs because he's dropping in, so it's going to create space for runners in behind, and we'll get to that when we get to the midfielders and the wingers. But I found that dropping him into false 9 was super effective, and also keeping him on stay forward, because this is where it is because of the personnel, because Mbappe is super quick. He is obviously going to have that pace in behind on counter-attacks if needed, because people are going to press a little bit higher up the field, hopefully against us, and then it's going to leave that space in behind for Mbappe to exploit. So stay forward was really key for me here. If you don't have a very quick striker, I recommend not playing him on stay forward. Now going into one of those midfielders, we are going to go to Socrates. Now for me personally, I found this was super effective on having my most attacking centre midfielder on get forward. Now if you have 2 midfielders in this position who are quite balanced, for me, I found that using one of them on get forward and having the other one on balanced attack was the most effective way. Now the reason we had one of them on get forward, remember we have Mbappe onto false 9, so he's going to drop into midfield, and that means he's going to come off the opponent's centre backs, which means there's always going to be space in behind, and space between your striker, which is in this case is our centre forward, and his centre back. So to close that space down, naturally he's going to pull one of his centre backs to come and close you down, which is going to do what? It's going to create space in behind, whether it's for your midfield runner or whether you just play a quick little 1-2 give and go into that space with someone like Mbappe to be able to use his pace and exploit that space. So I found that having one of my centre midfielders on get forward was super effective. Now obviously that can lead to you having a little bit of a light midfield and maybe getting some attacks down that midfield area, which definitely did happen. I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to shadow it. That did happen very occasionally, but I actually found I had a very good solid team structure with these tactics, and we'll get into the defense and CDM eventually. So I found that having the other midfielder on balanced attack, both of them we had on stay on edge of the box, because the two wingers, as we'll get to in a minute, we have the two wingers on to get into the box, and I don't want that box to become too crowded. And obviously if we've then got 5 players in that box, yes, it's going to mean there's more chance of us picking someone out, but if we don't pick someone out, getting counter-attacked is going to become quite easy, because we're not going to have too many players back in that midfield slot. So I think having them on stay on edge of the box is a great way to try and avoid counter-attacks as well. Now moving up to those all-important wingers. Now first and foremost we have them on comeback on defence. Now it's not something I've really used too much, but I've experimented a little bit with this recently, and mostly in this formation. I've found humongous success with using them on comeback on defence. Now the reason why I want to use them on comeback on defence is because a lot of people in this game, they do play with wingers first and foremost, which means your fullbacks are also going to be one-on-one. Now if somebody has their fullbacks on balance, that means your fullback is going to be left 2-on-1 unless you have come back on defence on support. So it does kind of avoid your fullbacks getting doubled up on, because you've now got 2 players back. So at the very least, even if they have a winger back, he's then going to be 2-on-1 against your defenders. You know, he's going to have his winger and your 2 defenders. So you're going to be able to, it just makes you a lot more solid. I found that it does really make you a lot more solid and stop a lot of attacks down that wing. Now again, going back to Mbappe, because we have Mbappe obviously on stay central and false 9, it does kind of create a little bit of space in behind those centre backs. As I said before, they're going to have to come off and try and close our striker down. So what I actually found was great success was I used the wingers on cut inside and get in behind. So they played again almost like narrow inside forwards, a bit like the 4-3-2-1, which, as you guys know, is my favourite formation this year in the game. I used the two wingers on cut inside and get in behind, so they almost play like narrow inside forwards, because there's a lot of space in behind those centre backs now, obviously because that striker's created that space. So it just means your wingers almost become your strikers in this game. And again, most people have quick wingers, so you're able to exploit a lot of that space in behind. And then the fullbacks for the opponent, he doesn't know what to do, because your fullbacks are kind of going in and he doesn't know whether to go with his fullbacks, and if he does, it's going to create space out on the wing. So either way, you're going to create space for yourself out on the wing, as we've seen in a few clips, you know, with Neymar obviously creating that space out on the wing, a nice little give and go to, I think it was Mbappe or Vidal. And again, just creating that space down the wing. So there's lots of space being exploited. Also, as I said, got them on get into the box for crosses, because I'm not someone that likes to cross the ball a lot. Hence why with the 2 midfielders, I had them on stay on edge of the box. I don't really go down the wing and cross the ball too much. Occasionally I'll look for cutbacks, but typically I tend to work a lot of my goals through the midfield, so I don't necessarily need them on get into the box. So if you're not someone who creates a lot of chances, if you don't go on the wing and cross the ball a lot, you don't need too many players in the box. But I think it's always a good idea to have at least 3 or 4 players in the box, hence why we've got the striker and the 2 wingers. Now moving across to the CDM, which is Alan in this formation. Now again, cover centre is just a dead cert. Obviously we're going to be using cover centre for all our midfielders. We don't need to use cover wing, because obviously we've got plenty of cover out on the wing. We've got the 2 fullbacks, and obviously we've got the 2 wide wingers on comeback on defence. Now for me personally, with defensive behaviour, I think this is a personal preference. I personally prefer playing man mark. I'm not someone who is incredibly good at using cut passing lanes. Plus, I don't want to run the risk of trying to cut a passing lane and missing and then taking my player completely out of that attack. I like to have, obviously, you know, him in the attack at all times. So for me, man mark I find is more effective, but stay back while attacking I think is crucial. Now I did again experiment with going with drop between defenders. Obviously when you're in attack, what tends to happen is your defense becomes a back 5, because Alan will drop into that defense. Your wingers, your fullbacks go a little bit wider, centre back split a little bit, and Alan becomes like a third centre back almost, and it becomes a back 5 when you're attacking. Obviously if we have one of our midfielders, as we did with Socrates, on get forward, that can just completely empty in midfield, because now Socrates is going to maybe be bombing forwards and Alan is in a back 5, so that kind of central midfield role is then completely empty. So I found that just using stay back while attacking was useful. If you're someone that likes to get the ball obviously from your centre backs, you do sometimes want a player in midfield to be able to receive the ball and turn and continue the attack. So I found that stay back while attacking was effective, because obviously if you're using drop between defenders, Alan is in the defence and he's not able to receive that ball in his normal CDM position. And then moving on to the fullbacks to finish up the team, I did have them on stay back while attacking. Now for me, I found that I was creating plenty of chances with this team anyway, so I didn't need to change the fullbacks off stay back while attacking. If you're someone that is struggling to create, go for the fullbacks on balance and see how that goes. Because you do have the wingers on comeback on defense, it might not be too bad in terms of you conceding chances possibly on the wing. But for me personally, I just like to have that solidarity. I like to have that, typical back four and a CDM in front. It just works for me, and I think it's the most effective way to defend. So I personally like to play with stay back while attacking. But if you're someone that does need to try and create a few more chances, maybe you're not creating as many as you want, go with the fullbacks on balance and just add to the attack. Obviously it's going to make your attack far better, but obviously be mindful that it is obviously going to create a few issues on the defensive side. But overall, that was the best tactic and instructions that I found for this formation, and I absolutely love this formation. I think it's definitely a formation that you have to play quickly with. That's one little tip that I did find with this formation. Obviously playing fast, a lot of quick little 1-2 passes is super effective with this formation. If you try and play slowly, sometimes you can get caught a little bit in possession, and chances are kind of hard to come by. So if you play the ball quick, play little tick-tack passes, if you're someone that likes to play that, this formation will suit you down to a T. But overall, this formation for me would get a 10 out of 10. I love this formation and would recommend it to absolutely anybody with these tactics and instructions. So that is it for the formation, guys. So if you do want to see any more in-depth formation, guys, do let me know in the comment section. If you did enjoy the video and you do want to see more, please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you do drop a like on the video as well. But that is all for today, guys. Have an awesome day. I'm out.